everybody. It's your girl, Michelle, with Girls Talk Real Talk, because when girls talk, just about anything can happen. Today on our show, we have Miss Shelley Brook. So I am going to let her introduce herself to our listening and viewing audience.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm so happy to be here. As Michelle said, my name is Shelley Brook. I am a launch event strategist, but formerly virtual assistant, and before that, formerly youth coordinator to a local municipality in my area here. Right now, I work with coaches and teams to create systems that easily repeat for online launch events. And we deliver value and consistently convert their clients through these online events.
So let's look at that, because coaching is a very interesting field. You can be on one end of the spectrum all the way to the other end of the spectrum. So is there a specific area in which you work, or do you just work with coaches in general?
I'm glad you asked that. Yeah. So I really love working with mindset and success coaches. I also love business coaches, but mindset and success is my jam. I've studied mindset for years now. One of my first virtual assistant clients was a mindset and success coach. And also I taught her how to do launch events and helped her go from like maybe closing a few people on a webinar to getting six-figure launch events consistently. So I really feel like I understand that business, and I understand how that coaching business works and how they think and how I can serve them best through their events.
So if someone is ready to step into the arena to kind of take their coaching business to that next level, how would you play into that?
Well, first of all, I'd love to look at what they've already done for conversion events, if they've done any conversion events. And then I like to take it through 6 phases. Often coaches come to me and they want to know how to run the event. What emails do they need to send? How many times do they go live? What do they teach about? But there's a lot of steps that come before that, actually. Before we even start planning that, I love to start with the mindset and self-care. So we set the date for the event, but then we put mindset and self-care in. So for those mindset coaches, they know this, but sometimes they're too close to it to know it for themselves, right? So we do some visualization, do some work on belief, visualization with their team, so that everybody is working from the place of the goal achieved, so that ripples out through everything that we do going forward. And then, of course, we put in place the self-care. Often what happens when coaches aren't working with me, they plan that event, they get into it, and they're halfway through the week and they're burnt out. And they just want to go for a massage, but they didn't plan for it. They didn't book that appointment. They didn't let their spouse know that they're going to need some time for themselves. So that's why I always put that first. We plan the date, and then we plan the self-care. So whatever beauty appointments need to come first, whatever massage, or maybe you just need to block time in your calendar to take a bath, anything like that. So we do that first, and then we look at their attraction systems that they have in their business. Are they networking? Are they doing any social networking? Do they have a lead magnet that they're using? Are they doing visibility opportunities, like being interviewed on a podcast? Do they have a referral program? So we look at that whole attraction system, because again, often people plan these launch events and think that it's going to attract all these clients and they're going to do so well. In actuality, it's just a vehicle to carry the prospects that are in your ecosystem through the know, like, and trust factor to close, right? So we do that first. We look at that and the nurture. So how do we nurture those prospects that have come into your ecosystem before the event happens? So that's where I like to start. Although they might come to me looking for help with an event, I back it up a little bit and we do a little bit of work in the first few phases first.
Okay. So when you're actually dealing with the coaches that you work with, you are kind of mapping out what their strategic plan necessarily needs to look like in order for them to get the end result that they're wanting.
Right. So like I said, we start with that attraction system, and that's not just for their event. That's for their whole business. Because you do that, you want that running all the time. You don't want it just running when you've decided you're going to have an event. You want it running all the time so that you're bringing in new leads in between events, and you can get on coaching calls with or consulting calls with them and close them in between events. And if they don't close there, then they can come to your next event and potentially they close there.
The attraction system, what is it?
Well, essentially it's a number of things. There's all those moving parts, and they can build upon each other. I always like to start with the referral program. So start with your inner circle of clients you already have, and who do they know? And so putting in a program in place where clients can refer their friends and family to come and work with you. And if those friends and family decide to take part in your program, then they get a referral bonus. They get a small financial bonus for referring you. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to start there, right? Start with your warm market, start in your inner circle. And then we look at building out a lead magnet. So if they don't already have one, then we build one out. If they do, then we look at it. Maybe we need to tweak it. But essentially, we just really want a value-packed lead magnet that you can share with your community. You can share when you go on podcasts. You can run ads to. And then the next step is getting visual. So getting in front of people, other people's audiences. So going on podcast interviews, doing guest workshops in other people's programs, like complimentary. In a complimentary space, and other things like that, doing summits, those kinds of things. So getting out there, networking, and getting in front of other people's audiences. And then, of course, we can always add in the paid Facebook ads to your lead magnet as well. So that's kind of like all the pieces there put together for that attraction system that you want running all the time in your business.
Okay. So how important is it for you or for a coach to have those Facebook ads? Because we know that Facebook crashed a few weeks ago. They were out of commission for over 24 hours. So in the essence of being out of commission, how does a coach still continue to do their attraction part of it when social media is that aspect that they may have been counting on is no longer there?
And that's why you want to build in the other aspects as well. So you definitely want to have a lead magnet, which is great for Facebook ads, but also it's great for doing PR opportunities as well. And you want to have that referral program. And you definitely want to have an email list built out, because that is essentially the biggest asset in your online business.
I know a lot of coaches have focused a lot on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and even some of the other opportunities like podcasts and whatnot. But I don't see a lot of them utilizing the benefits of an email list. So how important is that, especially when we face what we face with Facebook going down? How important is that email list?
It's incredibly important. An email list is the most valuable asset in your online business. So even though that email list is up and held in your email marketing platform like MailChimp or ConvertKit, that's your list. You want to be making sure that you download that list on a regular basis, export it, and save it into your files, because that is your asset, because that platform could go down at any time. So you want to make sure that you're saving that for yourself. And it's very easy to upload it again to another email marketing platform if needed. But, just as we saw with Facebook, there was a number of coaches that were in the middle of doing a week-long launch event when Facebook went down, and they had no way of letting their clients know, their prospects know, that they were going to host the event on Zoom instead of into their Facebook group, if they didn't have that email list. But luckily, most of them had built that list, and they were taking registrations for their events. So of course they collected email addresses. They were able to send out a quick email. Some of them even used text message marketing. So they were able to send out a quick text message and send out a Zoom link and say, we'll see you on Zoom instead. And they were able to keep rolling. But there was some who were didn't adapt as easily because they weren't as prepared. So that email list is everything.
So in essence, for any of the coaches that are watching, Your email list is gold. You need to
Sure.
treat it like it is an asset, and that it is something that you will be able to derive not only part of your income, but you'll be able to build from there. So I want to go back to something else that you said, because you had mentioned about the warm market, that you want to first start with the warm market and then leverage that warm market with the referral opportunities for them. What does that look like? How, for our coaches that may have never done that before, what does that look like?
Well, there's a gamut, right? You can do it really simply and just ask them to put you in a 3-way message with anybody they think would be a good fit to work with you. You can add a field to your opt-in forms. So for your lead magnet, usually you collect a name and an email address, but you could add a field that says who referred you. And then you pull that list once a month. And if any of those people converted into clients, then you go and pay the people who were listed as referrals. So that's really simple. You can do it in an Excel sheet, like keep it real simple, or you can go the totally other side of the gamut and use the like affiliate links and stuff like that that are present in a lot of the platforms. Like Kajabi has an affiliate program. Thrivecart has an affiliate program that allows you, for your clients, to set up links that have tracking codes, so that they share that link with their friends. Their friend clicks the link, and in the system, it shows that person as your referral. So you can go totally tech savvy and go all the way, or you can keep it real simple, spreadsheets, word of mouth, people letting you know who they've referred, and keep it really simple.
Okay, so as you are working with these coaches to help them build out their program, whatever campaign that they're going to be kicking off, how important is it for those coaches to be consistently seen leading up into the campaign?
Yeah, so about 4 weeks out, you want to really rev up your attraction. So you want to be showing up on social media. You want to be seeding the topic you're going to be teaching on, so that people start to get to know that that's what you talk about, and you get to see people's interest. Also, you get to hear people's comments about the topic too, so that as you're planning your topic and what you're going to teach on, you can start to pull that material from people's comments into what you teach and actually use their words, which is a really powerful way of helping your students to really resonate with your message and understand what you're talking about, and helps you to hit it on the head when you were trying to solve the problem for them, right? You don't know what problem they have. So yes, it's definitely important. You want to be showing up on social media, in your email marketing. So you want to be showing up in their inbox as well. And if you do any text message marketing, send out a text message that has nothing to do with promoting anything. Just like a text message that says, "Hey, happy Sunday, you're doing amazing." And just leave it at that. No link, no nothing, right? So just show up, give value, continue to show up as the expert that you are. And then as you get a couple weeks out, that's when you start to really promote. You share the link to get registered for your event, and you go from there.
So normally when you're doing campaigns, it is to get people to go into a larger package, or is it just to have them come on as coaching clients?
So it depends on the client. Usually it's to go into a group program. Usually these launch events are larger undertakings. So it's to bring in a lot of people at once into a group program. But you might find that you're able to upsell a handful of them into one-on-one coaching as well. So it depends on their needs and on your ability to take on more people. So it really, usually it's group programs, but there's the opportunity to do that upsell as well.
So when you're looking at this, and this is some valuable information to the coaches. So when you're looking at this, they will have their larger package or a group package, or whatever the overall that is going to be the call to action for them. That is going to be it. But when they're actually doing the campaign, when they're in the midst of meeting 3 to 5 days with individuals that may be interested, but they're not quite there yet, getting more information, then they would just present an introductory version, so to speak, of the larger group package to the individuals that show up?
Again, it depends on the coach. Some coaches only have one offering, maybe one offering plus the one-on-one coaching. Mm-hmm. So it depends on the coach. But you can also do that downsell to a smaller package or smaller price, lower price program. But always, my recommendation during a launch event, when you go into your pitch and go into your selling days, you choose one offer that you're going to pitch. And because the confused mind says no, right? So if you're like, well, you could do this package, or you could do this package, or you could do this package, then they have to make a decision. They have to decide, do I want to work with you, which they're already doing. But then if they have to decide between packages, it's too much, and they might just wipe the whole thing, right? So my recommendation is one offer. Usually it's the group package. But then if you're in calls with people, like consulting calls, and you're finding that maybe that group coaching package is not what's best for them, then you can do the upsell to a higher priced one-on-one if that's what they need to reach their goals, or you can do a downsell to maybe a do-it-yourself lower price program. Okay,
so that just kind of broadens out the arena, so to speak, for people to be able to see the necessity of making that contact, because you don't want to just try to engage a cold audience. You want to have people see you and interact with you, get to know who you are, and start to build that relationship with them. I was talking to someone earlier today, and that was one of the messages that I was saying. You know, people need to know what you have. And if you don't present it, they won't know what you have to offer. So when you're working with coaches in helping them put together these campaigns and what the campaigns need to look like, are you working with the smaller coaches? Or are you working with these larger coaches that have been out in the marketplace for a long time?
Runs a little bit of everything, but usually the coach has at least one team member, because it does take a little bit of legwork to pull off a 3 to 5 day event, plus some days of selling as well after that. So usually it's somewhere in between. They have at least one, like a virtual assistant, but maybe a virtual assistant and a social media person. So that middle range. One of the most important things to consider when attracting your ideal client to your launch event, other than, of course, telling people about it, is choosing the right topic. Choosing a topic that actually solves the problem that your ideal client has, an immediate problem, and making sure that they see that in the title, that they're going to get the results that they're looking for.
How did you transition into becoming a virtual assistant?
Virtual assistant. So originally I was a youth coordinator, and I used to work for a local municipality. I opened their youth center there, their very first youth center. I was very honored to be hired on to do that. And I loved it. And then I had kids. and my whole world changed, right? Like my whole world used to be work. Serve these youth. We used to have like 300 plus youth come through this youth center every year, not every day, every year. And they were like my family. They were like my kids. And then I had my own kids, and priorities changed. And I found myself living this double life. And I couldn't be present in one or the other entirely. So I started researching, how can I work from home? How can I do my own business online? And I was searching, and virtual assistant kept coming up, which I thought was weird. I'm not an assistant. I am a manager. I am not administrative assistant. So I kept pushing it off, but it just kept coming back. And it really did check all the boxes of my abilities. So administratively, I'm strong. Tech-wise, I'm very tech savvy. I just love fiddling and playing with technology. So that worked really well. And my marketing skills from marketing the youth center locally. And I learned social media and all those things so that I could market my youth center and connect with our youth online. So that came to me, and it just kind of snowballed from there. I posted in a Facebook group, somebody liked what I did, and they became my first client. And that was the summer of 2017 was when I started doing that. And October 2018, I had so many clients, I had to make a decision because I could not, I was literally working 24/7. So I had to make a decision, and I wanted to be at home with my kids. So I made the decision to leave my municipal government job and work for myself as a virtual assistant, and make my own hours and serve these coaches. And I also worked with a marketing agency as well, which is an incredible experience. So that brought me to becoming a virtual assistant.
Wow. And it was perfect timing because then everything got shut down.
Yes. I know, I couldn't imagine of what life would have been like if I was still working at the youth center at that time.
Yeah, that may not have been the best solution, especially when it's an in-person type deal and then everything gets shut down. So in all that you've been doing, you said you started doing this back in 2017 and then you picked it up full time a couple of years later. For those individuals that are interested in becoming a VA, what advice would you give them of being able to step into that realm?
Well, to be a good virtual assistant, I think you have to be tech savvy personally, but it also depends on what kind of virtual assistant you are. There are a lot of different types, so you can choose your niche, but I did a little bit of everything at first just to feel out what I liked. But niching down is a good idea because then you can really batch your work. You can really hone in on the trainings that you take. So deciding, are you a social media virtual assistant? Are you a podcast social media assistant? Like there's so many things. So I think researching, I research like crazy. I am a researcher. That's just what I do. I Google and I learn. I take all the free courses and I buy all the paid courses. Like whatever I can do to absorb information. And I think that's really what catapulted me, was that I just absorbed. I just learned. I learned as I went. Be willing to learn as you go. There's a lot of tasks that I took on that I did not know how to do before they were given to me. And then, but I went and learned how to do it, and then I did it for the client. And then now it's a skill I had, and I was able to offer it to more people. So I would say learn. I would say niche down once you've figured out what you really like to do. And also have boundaries. I would say that as well, because it can get, especially if you work with people in different time zones, it can get a little crazy. So have boundaries. Make sure you've set your hours of operation and that your clients know what those are. Remember that you're a business as well as they are. So you are a subcontractor or an independent contractor. So keep that in mind and treat your virtual assistant work as a business. Act as an entrepreneur yourself while you work with other entrepreneurs.
That's some great advice. So what was the best lesson that you've learned, the greatest lesson that you've learned being a virtual assistant?
Wow. What is the greatest lesson that I've ever learned as a virtual assistant? I think it was learning how to run launch events. I absolutely love them. I eat, sleep, and breathe them when I'm not hanging out with my kids and managing my family. So I think probably the biggest lesson was to always be learning, because that's what opened me up to then learn how to do launch events. And I had no clients who wanted me to run launch events for them. All the clients I worked with were like, no, like no new things. I'm good. But I kept just dropping hints and saying, oh, I learned this and that training. And then one day, my one client was like, that launch event thing you keep talking about, tell me more about that. and I mean, really the rest is history, but she said, tell me what to do. I'm coachable. I'll do it. And that was my first event. And she went from, just bringing in a couple of clients on her 1 to 2-day webinars that she would do to a 6-figure launch event. Yeah, her first 6-figure month that she'd ever done. And she's been doing them ever since for the last year, and now runs them on her own with her own team, because I was able to train her and her team how to do it, and they keep tweaking it and growing it. So my biggest lesson as a virtual assistant was to keep learning, really. Okay.
So in what it is that you do as a virtual assistant, and I think it's interesting that you left basically corporate America and came home, but you didn't stop working. So how does, and there, to me, as busy as I am, I have yet to understand the work-life balance. So how are you utilizing what you're doing there with your children? Are you including them in watching what it is that you're doing so that they will see what owning your own business looks like? And that when mommy goes to work, even though she doesn't leave the house, she still goes to work, what that looks like. How does that look for you?
Well, I think I agree with you. The work-life balance thing is a bit of a myth. I think it's more of seasons, right? You'll go through a busy season and you'll be really dialed in on work, and you'll just be spinning that family plate just a little bit over here, but you'll be dialed in, and then it'll switch the next month, you know? So I think you have your seasons. And with my kids, I just always talk about, I talk about my clients. Sometimes they walk in when I'm on a Zoom call. So they understand that. My sister's also an entrepreneur, and I've worked with her as well. So they kind of get that picture of entrepreneurship and working online. I know my daughter asks sometimes, she's like, oh, is that client here or are they somewhere farther away? Like, she understands that they're not all, not everyone that I work with is local anymore. I used to go to work and just work with someone who might live in the next town, but now I work with people who could be in 3 countries away, maybe. So really, I think it's just having that conversation with them, being calm about it if they burst in on your Zoom meetings, and having that calm conversation, because if it becomes this thing where they feel bad about you working, or them feeling bad about interrupting you, then it becomes this negative thing. And so I think it just has to be this flow, this give and take, and the mindset that you come to it with, whether you put a positive spin on it or a negative spin, is how they're going to perceive it. They feed off your energy. They always have since they were born. Right. Everything that they do, they feed off your energy. So however you're feeling is how they're going to feel. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but like if I'm ever frazzled, that's when my kids are going to be misbehaving and jumping off the walls or frazzled themselves. So as soon as I calm myself down, they're good too.
So in the sense that both you and your sister are both entrepreneurs, which one of you started your business first?
So my sister is Heather. So I would say she did in some regard. She was actually, I think she was my first virtual assistant client, but unpaid, because I asked if I could just practice on her. So like I called her up one day and I was like, do you mind, can I do a little bit of work for you for free? And it just actually turned out that she was making a pivot in her business. She had a vegan blog that she had, and she was transitioning into more of a overall wellness and business coaching, and she needed help with her website, and I was able to do that. So it was kind of serendipitous. Like, I was trying to take this thing off the ground and she was making a pivot, and when I messaged her and asked if I could help her out, she was like, yes, of course. And that was actually a really big learning when I first started as a virtual assistant. I did a couple of barters. So I bartered with another virtual assistant. I did some graphics for her and she gave me good reviews. And then my sister, I did some work for her and she was able to give me a review. But then I was also able to work out my systems too. So my onboarding system, getting contracts signed, all those things that I had never done before. I was able to test run those things on those people.
Okay, so let's go back because you made a very good point. The first thing that you said is that you bartered. So for the reviews, you did work for them. So when you're talking about your reviews, where were you having the reviews put on your website or in um, any type of system online that people could get you know what it is that you're doing?
So at the time, it was my Facebook page. I actually never had a website as a virtual assistant. I did everything through my Facebook page. I kept it really lean and easy, and I didn't have to pay for a domain or anything like that. So I had a Facebook page. I set up my services on there, which you can do, and I had anybody I did work for leave a review on my Facebook page. That I can then, show to other potential clients and go from there. So that was why I did work for free to get a couple of reviews so that we could start that ball rolling.
Okay. Now you talked about your onboarding system. So I know what you mean by onboarding system, but some of our listening audience and viewing audience might not. So why don't you explain what that really is?
So onboarding really just means I had a client package and an intake form. So I made sure that they got that. And what information did they need to get about working with me? So like I said, setting those boundaries, which like letting them know what my hours are, letting them know that I take holidays off, letting them know that I'm Canadian and I take Canadian holidays off because, if you work in different countries, they may not know that. So and also to an agreement. You want to have a written agreement. I purchased one from a legal website that was already pre-written, and I was able to just plug in my information. And then I used a platform called HelloSign, and I upload my agreement. It sends it to the client, and they are able to digitally sign the agreement and send it back. Saves so much time, and there's no printing it out, signing it, and scanning it and sending it back. So that was huge. And that was something also I learned when I started as a virtual assistant. I didn't even know that was a thing. Signing things digitally. I had never done that before. So that's basically my onboarding process. Was I gave them my new client package, which had, how we work together, my intake form, which I collected all their contact information, their social media handles, anything I needed to work with them. So that I could serve them to their best, and then of course the agreement as well, and then we just went from there.
Okay. So how did you learn that you needed to have that system? Were you taking a class or a course or listening to someone talk about it? How did you know that was something that you needed to put in place?
All of that research that I did. Like all of that research. One of the people that I always went to for information, her name is Abby Ashley, and she teaches virtual assistants how to be virtual assistants. And I got some of her free resources, and one of them was about like having a client package. I believe that came from her. That was so long ago. But yeah, I learned it just through research. Like I just go down that rabbit hole and I find everything.
I understand because I'm a researcher myself. So I do a lot of research, and there are different ways that I'll come across something. I'm like, ooh, I didn't know that was available. Let me go figure out can I use this? So one of the things that I think is important for people to know is when they are working with the VA, and you talked about the necessity of setting those boundaries. What happens with those clients that just don't seem to get the message?
Yeah, you can, obviously communicate, be honest and upfront. Don't let it slide. I've learned that. And I know other VAs have learned that if you let it slide, then you've set a new precedent and those boundaries are no longer existent. So just be gentle, just gentle reminders about, just as a reminder, I'm done work at whatever time on these days. So yeah, just gentle reminders. And sometimes it's just time to part ways, and that's just the way it is. And just always have the belief that the next best client is right around the corner and the person you're meant to serve is yet to come. And that's why sometimes VAs and other freelancers, they're hesitant to let go of clients, even if they're not right. They're not a right fit. They're hesitant to let go because they're afraid. They have this fear that then they're not going to have a client and they're not going to get paid. And then, and then there's that little snowball effect down the hill into despair. Instead, just having the belief and the faith that who you're meant to serve is yet to come. And this is happening because you're meant to learn from something from it, but it's also happening because it's probably time.
Very good point. Very good point. I remember back in 2004, 2005, somewhere around there. Actually, 2004, somewhere around in that time, I was actually a VA.
No way. That's amazing.
Yeah, I actually was a VA. I was running a call center. I had a lady I had met. I don't remember how we met. She had a call center and she wanted to retire. And I was wanting to get away from my job because it's driving me nuts. And so we made the agreement that I would buy her answering service. And so I went straight into a ready-made answering service. Clients already there, just picked it up and ran with it. And I noticed that some of the clients would every so often come to her and ask her to do like mail drop or to do some administrative work. And I am a trained executive assistant, so it wasn't that difficult for me to step into that role. But then I thought, like you, there has to be something that I can do that doesn't require me just to service the people that are in my local area. And so I started that. And during that period of time, that was when Microsoft first came out with their website and it was free when they were doing the beta on the website. And I know I probably created about 100 websites for people. Wow. From Microsoft before they started making you pay for everything because it was still in the beta stages. And yeah, I did that. I actually had I didn't have any international clients. They were all United States, but it opened me up to be able to work with some other people. And it was very interesting. I met some very, very interesting people.
Oh yeah.
Very
they're out there.
Yeah. And so, but what it did is it allowed me to hone my skills. It allowed me to learn more about the craft that I was in. And it even afforded me to be able to hire staff to actually manage, they were there to answer the phones for the answering service and I could focus on the administrative side of it. So it gave me an option to be able to play around with a little bit and to kind of pull in clientele that I otherwise would not have been able to pull in. So even in what it is that you've done as a VA and the different things that you have learned, you personally, how has that enriched your life?
Oh, so much. So much. I mean, like alone, just being able to work from home and be with my family was a huge thing. Right before I left my job, my husband actually had a car accident, and suffered from a major concussion. And so being able to be home for them and help him through all of that, that made that, I mean, I don't know if we would have made it through all that if I wasn't working from home. So there's that. But then each of my clients I learned something from. A lot of them were mindset coaches. So I was able to study their mindset programs and that, that really took me down the road of mindset and law of attraction and all those things. But then the marketing agency that I worked with, I learned so much about social media and in-person marketing. And then now I apply that all to what I do with my launch event strategy for coaches. Like it all just kind of piles up on each other to make this amazing, like new world that I'm living in these days, really.
That is exciting. Have you been able to inspire other people to step into that arena as being a VA?
I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've, oh yeah, actually. One of my clients, she became a virtual assistant, and I trained her for a little while how to be a virtual assistant, and now she has her own booming business. She's booked out. She can't take any more clients. I tried to refer someone to her, and she couldn't take them. So I'm really happy for her that she's really taken that on.
That's great. So anyone that is interested in being a VA, I know you gave some tips and some tools, but you know, we talked about having the boundaries in place, having your onboarding system in place, being able to make sure that you're keeping abreast of the trainings that are out there and the things that are available to you. Any other advice that you would give someone that's interested in stepping into that arena?
Well, there's so many things that I could say. Definitely having an organizational system to stay on top of your tasks and time blocking your calendar. Uh, Block out time when you're going to work for each client so that when they hand you something, you can say, yep, I can get that done. I have time blocked out on Friday in the afternoon, and I'll be able to get it done then. So really, especially if you're managing multiple clients, it's really important to have a good handle on your tasks, on your task management, and on your time management, really calendar management. And then the other piece of advice I would give to them as well is to also look at how they can set up more of a passive income stream as well. We always want to have multiple streams of income. That's really the best way to live. So while being a virtual assistant, you're still trading time for money. So you still have to be there to provide the service, but also look at how you can maybe create templates. Like if you are really good with Canva, can you create some Canva templates that you can sell on Creative Market or Etsy or something like that? So looking at those multiple streams so that it's not all about you showing up every day, that you have some other options that you can rely on as well.
Okay, so we've talked all about the business. Let's talk a little bit about the family. So you said that you're married with children. So what does that look like?
Well, I'm married to my husband, Andrew. I'm trying to think. I think it was 12 years this year, which is crazy to think that I've done anything for 12 years. And we have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, Gavin and Jacqueline. And those 3 are literally my world, especially these days since we don't go very much anywhere else. Yeah, really, we just love being together. We have weekly date nights, and I really enjoy taking my kids to their extracurricular activities, which thank goodness we're back to these days. And I just love watching them do what they love, and that's really why I do this, why I work for myself, why I work from home, because I wasn't always able to get to those things when I worked for someone else. I missed a lot of things. So I'm so grateful that I'm able to take them out to, Gavin loves hockey and he wants to be in the NHL, of course. I mean, what young boy doesn't? So, I was able to run him through all the rep tryouts this season. And there is a lot that goes into all of that. And there's no way I would have been able to do that before. So I'm so grateful for that. And my daughter does gymnastics and she loves that. And I'm so happy that, I'm able to provide that for them and give them those opportunities and build their dreams as well.
That is important. That's very, very important. My granddaughter did gymnastics for a little while. She went from gymnastics to majorette dance, and from majorette dance to cheerleading.
Oh, yes. Wow.
Competitive cheerleading. So she was in the majorette dance, was competitive. So she's very, very competitive. She likes that. But everything started with the gymnastics. So she learned the tumbling and the backwards jumps and all that other stuff that they do. She learned all of that stuff. So, but I've noticed that it also gives them a sense of self. because when you're doing competitive stuff, even though that you may be a part of a team, you still have to carry your weight. You still have to do what it is that you do. And I think that that's very good for them to be able to learn those skills early, because it'll serve them throughout the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I totally agree. My background is actually in recreation and leisure services. That's what I went to school for. Some people called it basket weaving 101, or, because it was really taught us how to help other people play. And that's where I really learned the importance for kids to be active and build that muscle memory, even if they're just doing it for fun, even if it's not competitive.
Right.
Just moving their bodies and building that muscle memory, having those social opportunities to learn outside of school. And like, I don't know, the things that come out of being a part of programs and teams, they build who you are. And it truly does. And I can say that for myself as well. Growing up, I did figure skating and then soccer and theater and music. So I definitely would not be who I am today if I did not do all of that. And that really pulled me towards that recreation, and specifically for youth is where I went, because I really saw how it built up that foundation for them.
That's great. So, Shelley, it has been fantastic talking to you. You have just dropped so many gems that, coaches and VAs alike would be able to pull from. So is there anything that you would like to share with our listening and viewing audience before we close out the show?
Well, I have a free resource that I'd love to share with coaches that are thinking about planning an online launch event. It is my topics and names checklist. I think that's one of the important things to plan when you're preparing for an event, because when people are scrolling the social medias, the first thing they're going to see is the name. And if the name does not stop them and tell them that it's going to solve the problem that they're having trouble with, they're not going to stop and read what you're going to be teaching them. So I created a checklist to help you compare your topic and your name to, so that you can see if you've hit all the marks. So people can grab that checklist for free. And do you want me to say the link, or do you want to put it in the comments?
You can go ahead and say the link.
If that's all right. Yeah. So it's Shelley Brook, and it's Shelley spelled with an EY, Shelley, SHELLEY, ShelleyBrook.com/topic and name checklist.
Okay, that's great. So I know you just gave part of your website. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you, interested in learning more about what you do and possibly come on as a client, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, the website's under construction, but it'll be back up shortly. So ShelleyBrook.com, or you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Shelley L. Brook. So again, Shelley with an EY at the end, Shelley L. Brook.
Okay. Well, Shelley, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your wisdom and knowledge about being a virtual assistant and working specifically with coaches, and what it would look like to do a campaign and what that launch needs to look like. So everybody, this is your girl, Michelle, with Shelley on Girls Talk Real Talk, because guess what? When girls talk, just about anything can happen. So we'll see you again next week for another fantastic show with some great guests. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.